Beneath Chicago's busy streets is an entire hidden world. Right now, as you walk through the Loop or grab coffee downtown, there's a network of tunnels and passageways right under your feet. Some are still used every day, others have been locked away for decades. Most people have no idea they're even there. We're not just talking about a few subway lines or sewer pipes. Chicago has abandoned freight tunnels big enough to drive trucks through, underground walkways that connect dozens of buildings, giant flood control systems deep in the bedrock, and even old vaults and hidden chambers from the 1800s. Some of these spaces are essential to keeping the city running. Others? They've been completely forgotten, left to collect dust, water, and secrets. So, what's really hiding under Chicago? Let's start at the very beginning, when the city first began digging below the surface. Chicago's underground story starts in the 1800s, when the city was growing faster than its infrastructure could handle. Early engineers faced two big problems: a lack of clean drinking water and constant flooding from the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. To fix this, they built something remarkable: water intake tunnels that stretched for miles under the lake. Starting in the 1860s, crews dug deep shafts beneath the city, then tunneled out toward massive water cribs sitting far offshore. These cribs, like the famous 2-mile and 4-mile cribs, pulled in fresh lake water and sent it back underground to pumping stations in the city. Around the same time, engineers built transit tunnels like the LaSalle Street Tunnel to move cable cars and trains beneath the river. These early projects proved Chicago could build downward as well as upward, laying the groundwork for even more ambitious tunnels in the future. By the early 1900s, Chicago had a new underground project unlike anything else in the world: the Chicago Tunnel Company's freight network. It started as a way to run telephone and telegraph cables beneath the city, but soon the idea grew. Why not build tunnels big enough to move freight? Between 1900 and 1906, crews dug nearly 60 miles of tunnels, all about 40 feet underground, connecting buildings all over the downtown loop. These tunnels were just wide enough for small electric trains. They carried coal to heat buildings, hauled away ash and garbage, delivered mail, and even supplied businesses with tunnel air, a form of natural cooling long before modern AC. At its peak, the network was so efficient that many loop businesses relied on it completely. But as trucks became more common, the tunnels lost their purpose. By the 1950s, freight service had nearly stopped. In 1959, the company shut down for good, and the tunnels were sealed off. Still, they didn't disappear. Some sections remain intact to this day, hidden right under office towers and busy streets, waiting for their next chapter in Chicago's underground story. But then, on a quiet April morning in 1992, downtown Chicago woke up to a disaster no one saw coming. Construction crews working on the river accidentally punctured one of the old Chicago Tunnel Company freight tunnels. Yes, the same tunnels sealed decades earlier. Water from the Chicago River began pouring in, and it didn't stop. Within hours, the flood had spread through the forgotten tunnels and into the basements of major buildings across the loop. Merchandise Mart, City Hall, even the Chicago Board of Trade were hit. Thousands of workers were evacuated as 250 million gallons of river water surged underground. The cleanup took weeks and cost the city and local businesses an estimated $1 billion, all because of a hole just a few feet wide. The flood was a dramatic reminder. Chicago's underground network was still there, and it was still very much connected. Not all of Chicago's underground spaces are off limits. In fact, one of them is open to the public every single day: the Pedway. Built in the 1950s and expanded over the decades, the Pedway is a network of underground tunnels and overhead sky bridges connecting more than 50 buildings in the loop. It stretches for about 5 miles and links offices, hotels, train stations, and shopping centers. For downtown workers and commuters, the Pedway is a lifesaver during Chicago's brutal winters and humid summers. It's warm, dry, and you can walk from one end of the loop to the other without ever stepping outside. But it's not just a shortcut. The Pedway has art installations, small shops, and access to historic buildings like the Chicago Cultural Center. It's one of the few ways the public can actually experience part of the city's layered underground world. Chicago's underground network doesn't just move people and freight, it also protects the city from disaster. That's where the Deep Tunnel, or TARP, Tunnel and Reservoir Plan, comes in. Started in the 1970s, this massive flood control system was designed to stop the kind of urban flooding and sewage overflows that had plagued the city for decades. Engineers drilled over 110 miles of tunnels through solid rock, some as wide as 33 feet and as deep as 365 feet below the surface. When it rains, the tunnels capture stormwater and sewage that would otherwise flood basements or overflow into Lake Michigan. That water is then stored in huge reservoirs until it can be treated. One of the largest reservoirs, the McCook Reservoir, can hold billions of gallons of water. The scale of TARP is almost impossible to grasp. Entire buildings could fit inside its tunnels. While most of it is completely off-limits to the public, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District occasionally offers rare tours. The Deep Tunnel is proof of just how far Chicago will go underground, not just to build a city, but to keep it safe from nature itself. Beneath Chicago's sidewalks and streets are even more layers most people will never see. Some are massive vaulted spaces, others are cramped maintenance corridors, but they all tell stories of a city constantly building on top of itself. Take the vaulted sidewalks, for example. In the 1800s, Chicago raised many of its streets to install sewers and prevent flooding. The old ground floors of buildings became underground basements, and sidewalks were built above them. Some of these vaulted spaces still exist today, sealed off behind locked doors or used for storage. Then, there are the city's steam tunnels, a network of pipes and access corridors that deliver heat to buildings downtown. Urban explorers have stumbled upon these tunnels, describing them as long, dimly lit passageways that feel frozen in time. Add to that layers of electrical conduits, gas lines, sewers, and forgotten stairways to nowhere, and you start to realize Chicago is as complex below ground as it is above. Most of these spaces are off-limits and dangerous to enter, but they're a reminder that Chicago is a vertical puzzle, stacked with history from the sidewalks down to the bedrock. From the first water tunnels under Lake Michigan to the Deep Tunnel megaproject, Chicago has been digging beneath itself for more than a century. Each layer tells a story of a city that grew too fast, faced disaster, and kept building solutions underground. Today, some of these spaces are bustling with life, like the Pedway. Others, like the old freight tunnels, sit in silence, holding secrets of the past. So the next time you're walking downtown, remember, Chicago isn't just the skyline above you. There's a whole other city hidden below your feet. What city should I do next? Make sure to let me know in the comments and subscribe to be the first to know about the underground mysteries of other cities.